The concept of a mysterious island that hides something from mankind is nothing new. Books, movies, and TV have all played with the idea, but where did it come from? Was all of this media born strictly out of the imaginations of its creators, or could there be a nugget of truth hidden among them, buried by decades of diffusion and detachment? Recent events involving strange pulses, unexplained movement, and what appears to be purposeful concealment have caused us to take a closer look at a real-life mysterious island, one that has astonished, unnerved, and perplexed humans for almost 300 years. An island that might have had its secrets foretold in an unlikely place, a science fiction film from 2004. Welcome back. You're watching Conspiracy Vibes, and this is The Secret of Bouvet Island. Bouvet Island, a dependency of Norway located more than 1,000 miles from the coast of Antarctica and more than 1,400 miles away from the closest cluster of humanity. Because of that massive distance, Bouvet is known as the most remote island on Earth. Unsurprisingly, it has been declared a protected nature reserve and is totally uninhabited. But is it? The volcanic nature, all but inaccessible coastline, year-round frigid climate, and permanent ice cover of the island certainly make it inhospitable for most things besides the penguins, seals, and moss that live there. However, there seems to be some kind of activity either on, around, or underneath the island since the beginning of 2024. And we're going to get into that. But first, a little history lesson. Trust us, it'll be worth it. Bouvet Island was first discovered on January 1st, 1739. A French explorer named Jean-Baptiste Charles Bouvet de Lozier came across it while exploring the South Atlantic. However, a miscalculation or mislabeling of coordinates resulted in the island becoming lost for almost 70 years, until British whaler James Lindsay rediscovered it in 1808. He named it Lindsay Island, because you could just name chunks of land after yourself in those days. Another Englishman by the name of George Norris claimed the island for England in 1825 and named it Liverpool Island. This is where the mysteries of Bouvet began. Upon reaching the island, Norris claims to have seen another island nearby, which he named Thompson Island. A subsequent expedition led by Joseph Fuller in 1893 also reported seeing Thompson Island. There was just one problem. Bouvet was and is completely isolated. There are no other landmasses for hundreds of miles in either direction. So what did George Norris and Joseph Fuller actually see? Official reports claim that it was a phantom island, a navigational error or mistaken observation that wasn't uncommon in this era. One report could be dismissed as an error, but two reports of the same island almost 70 years apart is a little more suspicious. Thompson Island was never reported as seen again after 1893. However, as we'll see later in this video, it's possible that Norris and Fuller did in fact see something, whether it was an island or something else. Liverpool Island was claimed by Norway in 1927 and was renamed to Bouvetoya to honor its original discoverer, though most people and places refer to it simply as Bouvet. It was declared a nature reserve in 1971. Now, here are a few anomalous discoveries that have been made on Bouvet since its discovery. In 1964, the South African explorer Alan Crawford discovered an abandoned lifeboat, oars, and a cut-open buoyancy tank in a lagoon on Bouvet's coast. No human remains were found, however, and the true source of the lifeboat remains a mystery to this day. Some suspect that it might have belonged to a Soviet vessel, but then where is the body? Surely whoever was on that boat would have left some bones behind, right? In 1978, the underground temperature of Bouvet was recorded as 77 degrees Fahrenheit, significantly warmer than the roughly 30 degrees the island has year-round on average. This can be attributed to the island's volcanic makeup, but who knows what's going on beneath the surface of Bouvet? In 1979, there was the Vela incident. Between Bouvet and the Prince Edward Islands, an American satellite registered a perplexing double flash of light. Over the years, explanations for the Vela incident have ranged from a meteor to an instrument malfunction to an undeclared joint nuclear test held jointly by South Africa and Israel. The cause of the flash is still unknown, though details relating to it have been classified by the US government. Not suspicious at all. For a while, it seemed like the strangeness surrounding Bouvet Island had subsided like the frigid tide along its coast. However, the air of mystery and intrigue about the island has persisted, and even inspired some. In 2004, the film Alien vs. Predator used Bouvet as the setting for its epic action. And, although it's unlikely that there's a hidden pyramid miles below the surface that's used to train an advanced race of extraterrestrial warriors, it's clear that something is going on with Bouvet Island. On April 9, 2024, the weather modeling website Ventusky recorded something very strange. A dark mass the size of Texas moving up the coastline of South Africa, generating 80-foot waves and gradually growing in size before disappearing without a trace. The anomaly was picked up almost immediately by news outlets and social media, where it was dubbed the Blob and speculated to be a number of outlandish things: an alien wave, an underwater UFO, a black hole, Atlantis, or a kraken. These assertions are hilarious and outlandish, sure, and Ventusky itself came out and denounced the anomaly as a modeling error. However, the situation only gets stranger the more you look into it. The saga of the South Atlantic blob has been documented in detail by the TikToker, ham radio enthusiast, and blob specialist, Glamam Radio. Since her first upload about the subject on April 13th, her findings have gotten increasingly bizarre. Let's dig into some of these findings and see how the situation has evolved since April. Glamham Radio's first TikTok noted several documented weather anomalies.
UFO. Viral TikToks were shot where the waves were going backwards with this extreme wind. Multiple news sources documented severe weather conditions.
Massive waves recorded by Ventusky that somehow were not noticed or reported.
Apparently with 80-foot waves, but strangely, no one caught video of these 80-foot waves. I did go through the different options on this site. Nothing else was abnormal except when you select waves. Those are the other options there. But look at the size of this.
This area is a busy, well-known shipping route, and the fact that the very same blob anomaly, or at least one unignorably similar to it, also appeared on February 25th. Later videos would reveal that it appeared the same way in March as well.
It was also present in the same location, March 27th. So we've got February, March, April.
However, it's the follow-up video, posted just one day later, that brings us back to Bouvet.
On Google Earth, you see a lot of islands, very common, little names on them, but there's one island that does not have a name, and it is right where that strange anomaly passed by. So, yes, food for thought.
Our mysterious Norwegian island quickly became embroiled in the Blob conspiracy, but for good reason. While early videos and observations from other people following the situation noted that Bouvet Island was nearby or in the Blob's path, it was eventually labeled as the origin of the event. This makes the following points all the more suspicious. From the point it became involved, it was noted that Bouvet's name wasn't clearly labeled on Google Maps, no matter how much you zoomed in.
If you just zoom in and zoom into Google Earth, you will see this little island, but it has no name on it.
Could this be a bug in Google Maps? According to an unverified source, no. A viewer who allegedly worked for Apple Maps disclosed that more or less, labels like this would only fail to appear if someone deliberately chose to exclude them.
I had somebody write to me who worked at Apple Maps, and they said that that is not normal, that if the name doesn't appear on the island, it's because someone designed it that way.
More weather anomalies surfaced, earthquake activity increased. Bouvet sits directly on top of a fault line. And Glamham Radio came up with her own theory involving ferrofluid and magnetic fields over the next several days. And then it happened again, several times. On April 26, 2024, Ventusky registered another glitch or blob anomaly in the exact same place. The claim of the blob appearing because of a model error is beginning to fall apart at this point, especially since others had managed to find the same blob using other applications and different models. However, if this was being caused by some kind of faulty software or equipment, why not just take it offline immediately? Or, fix it after it was known to be a problem? It wasn't until over a month later that the National German Meteorological Service pulled the model to redesign it. Sure. The anomaly appeared several more times before the model was pulled, though, and every time it originated on or close to Bouvet Island. But hold on, it gets even weirder. On May 9th, Glamham Radio posted an update that showed how the area, including the Blob, Bouvet Island, and a large portion of the surrounding area, went dark in satellite imagery during its May 6th appearance.
This is May the 6th. This is the day the Blob showed up at ventusky.com. Why is this blocked out? Is this normal? Do we normally see giant areas of satellite imagery blocked out?
That same update contained the discovery of what looks like either antenna lines or a heating element deep on the ocean floor and relatively close to Bouvet Island.
So I recognize this shape. The first thing I think of is an antenna. I'm showing you images of a Yagi-Uda antenna. You can recognize the shape. Look at this, though. I also am familiar with underground heating of concrete. Look what that looks like. I mean, this rabbit hole really keeps getting deeper. And I just want to remind also the relation to this area to Bouvet Island.
The next day, another update showed NASA satellite images of vortexes and wind patterns creating strange shapes in the clouds over Bouvet. This phenomenon was explained the next day, as it was found out that the clouds were formed by phenomena called gravity waves and the von Karman vortex, which Glamham Radio explains here.
This one in particular was freaky, but I am going to tell you what it is. These are gravity waves. Gravity waves form when stable air moves over raised features such as hills, mountains, or islands. And these are a little bit more complicated. And turns out these have been seen in other places around the world as well. The phenomenon is called a von Karman vortex, also called a von Karman vortex street, and it happens when clouds are disrupted by a vertical object, such as an island. This disruption creates spiral patterns in the clouds to create cavities, which make these strange-looking patterns.
Now, this is the part where you're going to want to hold on to your tinfoil hats. On May 19th, Glamham Radio shared an update with a pretty startling discovery. Apparently, if you try to view Bouvet Island between 2017 and 2022 on Google Earth, you can't. The island is obscured for 6 years straight, and it's not alone.
Me suggesting I look at the time-lapse of Bouvet Island on Google Earth. Watch what happens when our lovely little island gets to 2017. Poof! Gone. It's blued out. But here's the thing. It's blued out for 6 years. Why is our little island blued out for 6 years?
On June 6th, it was discovered that another island was also obscured for the same time frame. Its name also doesn't show up in Google Maps. It is a nature reserve, and it's a volcanic island, just like Bouvet. Combined with the discovery of the blocked satellite imagery several weeks earlier, it's clear that they're trying to hide something. These can't all be coincidences. One thing they didn't hide that sets this island, Prince Edward Island, apart is that it was the launch site for an experimental radio project called PRISM, which was installed in 2017, the same year Google Earth started hiding the islands. Oh, and did we mention that both Bouvet and Prince Edward Island are roughly the same distance from Antarctica and South Africa? Nothing strange about that. What does this all mean? How are these islands connected? If you'll recall, the Vela incident we talked about earlier also happened in this exact region. Could this blob anomaly have originated there 45 years ago? The answers to these questions are anybody's guess, but even more concerning things have come up as of early June, when this video was scripted. First, we have what looks like concentric circles radiating not off of Bouvet Island itself, but off of several objects that look as if they're bubbling up from the ocean floor.
Just having a look at some rocks that look normal. Let's pop over the other side of the island. Clearly some overlays happening. Now, is it just me? Or does this look like bubbling in the ocean?
In addition to the mass weather anomalies being caused by whatever is happening at Bouvet Island, it also seems to be affecting sea life.
Like what is going on with the whales and marine life? Why are fish spinning in Florida? What is happening in our oceans? I received hundreds of messages asking
what is causing this. Some things you may want to Google yourself are acoustic trauma caused by explosions and noise pollution.
We know that Bouvet lies directly on top of a fault line. So are those concentric circles and signs of disturbance merely caused by that? Could these even be related to the disappearing Thompson Island? Or is there something much larger at play, something that could have far-reaching repercussions? As of now, it's still unclear. However, with a discovery reported on June 9th, what looks like it could be a cave entrance into Bouvet Island.
Here's the big surprise. A helicopter tour of Bouvet Island, yes! Wait, could we slow down? Is that an entrance? There's also this weird thing, kayaks maybe, on the uninhabited island. Naturally, I head off to Google Earth to see if I can find this entrance. Is this an entrance? Or just an alcove in the rocks?
We might know more than we ever wanted to know. Soon. Now, as long as it doesn't lead to an ancient pyramid designed to train extraterrestrial warriors, we might be fine. Maybe.